Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video, I'm going to be talking about how we started making more money by working less hours. And if you are new here, I just wanted to start out by saying I am a real estate agent, but as with most of our videos, these are things that can totally be applied to other businesses or areas of life as well. Something that I have been very intentional about since I got into the business, but especially over the last year, has been working harder, working smarter, not harder, and finding ways to make more money while working less hours. And this is something that I'm passionate about because a lot of the real estate agents, actually pretty much all of them that I've seen on YouTube, talk about their daily schedule, and it goes something like they wake up at 5 a.m. and they're on the phone by 8 and they're making calls all day long, and then they finally, take a little break at 5 and then they're back on the phones until 8 p.m. and like literally that's the schedule of everyone that I see, and it makes me cringe because it doesn't have to be that way. And we actually started making more money when we started working less, and that is what I'm going to talk about today. I have a few notes written in my phone that I wrote out that I'm just going to read off to you guys. This is something that I really thought through and was very thoughtful when I wrote. So I just wanted to start out by saying that when I say we work minimal hours, I'm not talking about neglecting calls, emails, or texts. As a real estate broker, you just have to accept that that is just part of your life. So basically, even when we're on vacation, or even when I consider myself, not working or off work, we're always staying on top of calls and emails. And, like I said, even on vacation, that isn't a big deal to me at all, because otherwise it would be putting our clients in a bad situation. Obviously, we all need time away from our phones now and then so we don't go crazy, but I just want to make it clear that we never neglect our clients or our listings, and we are always ready to take their calls. I just wanted to make sure this video doesn't come across the wrong way. All of that being said, I don't want this to come across as saying that we are complacent where we're at, and by that I mean like, oh, we're just okay, like we're comfortable making this amount of money, because that's totally not the case either. My husband and I do have very big goals for our business, but our thing is, what we always say is, as long as we are increasing our business every year, as long as we are consistently making more this year than we did last year, then we're okay. Like, we don't need to be working our heads off if we're doing that. So we're not complacent, but at the same time, we're not okay with like having that schedule of the other agents I was talking about, where we're literally not having a life. The funny thing is though, that when we did start working less and applying these things, we naturally started making more money without even trying. So I'm just gonna hop into it with tip number 1, which is to outsource all non-dollar producing activity. If you haven't read the book 4-Hour Workweek, I would totally recommend it. That is something that they talk about in this book, is outsourcing. So basically, either join a brokerage like we're at that handles a lot of things. I mean, our brokerage even has a creative service department that makes our flyers and our postcards and sends them out, so we don't have to spend time doing tedious little tasks like that aren't necessarily dollar producing. So either join a brokerage that handles all that for you, or outsource it some other way. Fiverr.com is one of my favorite places. It's basically a website where you can pay someone in the Middle East or Latvia to do literally anything you can think of for you, whether it's make a spreadsheet, create content for you. Like, there's so many things. It's actually can get kind of addicting to go onto Fiverr, and like you can kind of get on a little rabbit hole going on it and just finding all these things that they can do for you. So Fiverr.com is something I would totally recommend. It's amazing. Outsource, outsource, outsource. The second tip is to remind yourself that as a real estate agent or any other type of business owner, you really only have 2 jobs. The first job is to take care of the current clients that you have, service them, make sure that they're happy and getting the most excellent service possible. And the second job is to go out there and get new business. And that's it. We tend to really complicate it, but those are literally the only 2 things that we need to focus on and spend our time doing. Tip number 3 is to time block. What I do is I set aside an hour a week to call all of my current clients and give them an update. And that's something that's already in my schedule. I time block for it. Honestly, it doesn't even take an hour, but I give myself an hour. And I time block, you know, half an hour a week to make cold calls to new prospects and half an hour a week to call leads. And it really doesn't have to be complicated. I put this on my schedule 1 day a week and go to the office 1 day a week. And while I'm there, I get everything I need to done for that week's appointments. Time blocking and doing things in batches, like preparing all of my CMAs for the week in one setting, seriously saves you so much time. The thing I do is I print all of my listing presentations for that week, or if I can, for that month in one setting, and then like you're done. You don't have to do it again, and that saves you so much time and makes things so much more efficient. My next tip, this one's really only going to apply to realtors, but that is be listing heavy. We really are mainly listing agents, and when we do work with buyers, it's because they're either someone we know, someone who was referred to us from you guys, someone from Facebook. Basically, when we work with buyers, it is someone who we know 100% is going to work with us, not someone who we're going to show 10 houses to and then waste all that time because they're going to buy with someone else. So be listing heavy really gives you control of your time. I speak from experience and can honestly say that when your main focus as a realtor is listings, it really feels like passive income. Sure, you have to do the work to win the listing and stay in close communication with your clients, but once you put your listing on the MLS, all the other agents in town go to work for you and sell it for you, and the rest of the work, for the most part, you can do from anywhere. And even when you're traveling, yes, you have to put more work in up front to perfect your listing presentation, but once you do that, and once you put systems in place to make listings super easy and seamless, then things can go very, very smoothly. My next tip is for anyone, and that is to get rid of distractions, aka social media. This is something that obviously it's 2020, we have to use it as business owners because that is where the eyeballs are at. But it can also be a huge time sucker, and it can be a huge time waster if we're not careful about it. So what I do is if I notice myself maybe logging into Instagram, for example, too many times in one day, I will just go ahead and delete the app because I don't have time for that and I need to focus on things that are dollar producing. Not that Instagram can't be dollar producing, but if you're just scrolling through it, if you really think about it, you're probably just scrolling through more than you're doing like dollar producing things, which would be messaging people in your DMs, communicating with people, like networking or actually posting. You're probably scrolling through more than you're doing those things. So what I do is I, of course, turn off my notifications. There's literally no reason why your notifications should be on, like, ever. Who cares who liked your post? You don't need to see that. It's just a time waster and a reason for you to like log on to the app when you don't need to. And another thing that I do is I try to only get on if I'm actually posting something. So if I'm either posting on my story or if I'm posting a post, then I'll get on. Otherwise, I try to just stay off of it for the most part. And I know that's probably not very helpful for the algorithm or whatever, but I honestly don't care. My goal isn't to have like 1 million followers on there. My goal is to use the followers that I have to get business from because I actually know them. And odds are if you have a bunch of followers, but they're from like all over, then it's probably not really going to help your business. And I don't know if I explained that in a way that makes sense, but I think that as realtors, our focus is really like not having a bunch of followers or getting a bunch of likes, but having a deep connection with the people that you actually do know on there. So that makes sense. I don't know. Like I said, what I usually do is try to only get on my social media apps when I'm either posting something or responding to DMs. Next tip is to raise your average price point. This is something that my husband Spencer did when he joined me about, wow, it's been like what, a year and a half now that he's been licensed and full-time in the business with me. He raised our average price point, and he did this by prospecting to expired listings. But basically all you need to do to raise your average price point is to start prospecting to people who have higher priced homes, who you want to work with. And this changed our year and helped us so much because a lot of the deals that he was getting and that we both started getting from him prospecting to higher priced leads, like a lot of the whole commission checks were bigger than some of the tiny manufactured home sales that I started out selling when I was 18. So that makes such a big difference. And yes, I do take lower price listings still if it's like a referral or a come list me call. I'm not too picky about that because I know I have systems in place now to make the listing process like super easy, and I only have to drive there once and I don't make it that big of a deal. But adding in, like sprinkling in those higher price listings as well will make a difference tremendously. My next tip is to take a look at where your previous sales have all come from and then focus on doing more of that. So when I first started doing this, I saw where the majority of my sales were coming from, which at the time was for sale by owners, and then also some referrals and from doing these videos and Facebook. And at the time I was spending a lot of time door knocking and doing other multiple things that during my workday that were not bad things, but I wasn't getting any sales from them. So I completely cut all of those things out that were not giving me business and started zeroing in on the ones that were. Basically what I did was I started to focus on taking what was already working, like for sale by owners and videos, and doing more of that and doing it better and upping my conversion rate with that. Last tip is focusing on quality over quantity. I used to be so focused on getting as many listings as I can, and of course I still want to be listing heavy and I still have goals to get a certain amount of listings each month, but I don't focus on that quite as much. My main focus has become simply just taking the absolute best care as I possibly can of the client that's right in front of me, and then letting more listings come because I'm taking such a good job of the ones that I already have. By doing my job in the most excellent way possible for one client at a time and making that my main priority, we have increased our referrals and spend way less time trying to get clients the old way by prospecting. I still do prospect, but for me it's now something I do for fun. I really don't make that many calls, and I enjoy making these calls, so that's why I still do it. And it's not what we count on to make a living anymore like it used to be. So I hope that helps. Real quick, if you've watched this whole video, let me know in the comments below. The way that I film my videos is almost always, as you guys know, I write down in the comment section or the note section in my phone, I write out my answer to your question, or I just write out like a few things I want to touch on, and then I kind of like read it off. Does that bother you? Is that like annoying that I'm reading it, or is it not a big deal to you? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to know about that. It just is how I like to gather my thoughts, and it helps me remember what I'm gonna say. But let me know if that's like annoying or not. Anyway, I'm gonna end this video here. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. And if you're a realtor and you live outside of the state of Oregon and you have a client relocating to Oregon, send them our way. We'd love to give you a referral fee, and I'll see you guys next time.